which helped, except now you're low money, because you just paid $3 for a couple ounces of fruit and nuts. And of course, low money can lead to low self-esteem, which of course leads to low energy, and we're right back where we started. Well, hopefully this video helps break that cycle, because as you're about to see, it's pretty fast, easy, and inexpensive to make your own energy bars. So let's go ahead and get started with what is basically the secret to this whole operation, the dates. And not just any dates, we're using what's called medjool dates, which not only have a beautiful sweet flavor, but they're also nice and moist, which provides the perfect amount of stickiness with which to hold all our other ingredients together. And what we need to do to prep these is simply pull out that pit in the middle, which is very easy. We just have to break them open and pull them out. And then once our date is seeded, we'll just give it a little rough chop to make it blend a little easier, and that's it. And by the way, on the blog post, I will go over a little bit on what to do if you can't find the medjool date. You do have some options, but having said that, they are pretty easy to find. Try to look for the grocery stores that have lots of hybrids in the parking lot. They will usually carry them. But anyway, we'll go through our dates, removing that seed, or pit, or whatever it is. And like I said, give them a little rough chop, which may or may not be unnecessary, but I do it anyway. And once we have a couple cups of those dates prepped, we can move on to mixing this up with the rest of the ingredients, which, by the way, we really want to do in a food processor. So into that, let's go ahead and dump our raw cashews, as well as some almonds, which, by the way, I did toast first. Generally, if this was being made by your typical vegan from Central Casting, this would be done with all raw ingredients, but I do prefer the flavor of the roasted almonds. And quite frankly, I don't see who I'm hurting by toasting those. Of course, I'm sure someone will let me know. But anyway, after that, we'll also add some coconut. And not the sweetened one, just pure coconut. Look on the label, it should just say coconut. And then, of course, we will add in our chopped dates, as well as, since we're making these chocolate energy bars, a lot of cocoa. And hopefully it's a very high-quality Dutch processed cocoa. And I will let you know in the post the exact brand I used. But using a nice chocolate here is kind of a key. And then, since these are energy bars, we're definitely going to want a little bit of fat. So I'm going to go ahead and add in a couple tablespoons of coconut oil, which, if you haven't worked with it before, looks like this at room temperature. It sort of looks like shortening, but looks are deceiving. This stuff's like 100 times better for you. And to use this, we'll just zap it in the microwave for a few seconds until it melts into this liquid form. And we'll go ahead and pour that into our mixture. And not only is that going to provide us with some energy, that fat's going to combine with that cocoa to make this all a little more chocolatey. So we'll toss in some coconut oil, followed by a little bit of vanilla extract. Definitely the real stuff. In fact, if you knew where the artificial stuff came from, you definitely wouldn't use it. But anyway, a little touch of vanilla, followed by a tablespoon of liquid to help this all come together. And most people like to use water, but I'm actually going to use some cold espresso, which will serve the same purpose, except this is going to make that chocolate taste a little chocolatier. And then we will finish up with a little pinch of salt. And that is going to be it for our chocolate energy bar ingredients. So at this point, we can head to the food processor to mix this up. Whoops, hold on, I forgot something. We can't do an energy bar without a little pinch of cayenne. So that was a good catch, we almost ruined it. And now that we finally have all the ingredients in for sure, we will head over and process this until it just sort of comes together into one mass. And as usual, we always want to pulse on and off to start. And by the way, I should mention, I like mine kind of chunky. I like to see and feel lots of pieces of the nuts. But if you want yours smoother, you can always process the nuts first and then add the rest of the ingredients in after that. So that's up to you, but I do prefer mine chunky. So what I like to do is pulse it on and off for about a minute and then evaluate. We'll take off the lid, we'll give it a little mix with a spatula. Okay, first of all, we want to make sure there's nothing weird going on. And there wasn't. But we also want to check for moisture. Okay, if it seems a little dry, you can always add a little more water or coffee. But mine seemed pretty good, so I popped the lid back on and continued. And please keep in mind, like most of these videos, I'm hopefully teaching you a technique here that you'll then adapt using the ingredients you want. Okay, literally any kind of dried fruits, nuts, seeds can go in this. So there's just a ton of room for experimentation here. But anyway, we're going to keep processing that until, like I said, it kind of comes together in one mass, which is what I have right here. And once that's happened, all we need to do now is transfer this into some kind of plastic wrapped mold. And by mold, I mean any kind of pan or casserole dish. So we'll go ahead and transfer that in and use our spatula to press that down nice and even. And by the way, don't worry about trying to get it absolutely perfect here with the spatula. Just get it close, because the next step here, we're going to put a piece of plastic over the top, and then we'll use our hands on top of that to get this all nice and even and smoothed out the best we can. And that, my friends, is pretty much it. Except for one major thing. Before we try to cut this, we want to chill this thoroughly in the fridge so it gets nice and firm. Okay, it's all about significantly slowing down those molecules. So let's go ahead and wrap that up and pop that in the fridge for 2 or 3 hours, or until, like I said, it gets firm enough to cut. So this is mine later that afternoon, and I'm going to go ahead and pull that out of the pan. It should feel firmer and significantly less sticky. And once we have that unwrapped with the smoother side up, all we need to do is cut this into whatever size bars we want. So we could cut this into sort of a small snack size, or what you see me doing here, which is more of a meal replacement portion. But really, that's up to you. You are the boss of your bars. Which reminds me, you can also be the boss of your balls. Since instead of molding this in a pan, you could just take the mixture and roll it into balls, which is kind of a cool way to serve them. In fact, once formed, you can roll the balls in cocoa or coconut, and they'll kind of look like truffles. But anyway, I'm going for the more traditional bar shape. And then once those are cut, you can just store them in a Ziploc bag. I like to keep them in the fridge, but you don't have to. Or if you want to get a little bit fancy, and by fancy I mean crafty, we can just take a little square of parchment paper and sort of wrap it up in that. And then we can hold all that in place with a piece of butcher's twine. And of course I could have done that a lot neater and made it look a lot more perfect. But I wasn't going for a professional look. I wanted this to look rustic and homemade. Allegedly. But anyway, just an idea for you. I think it's kind of a cool way to package them. It's going to keep them nice and fresh, plus because these things are kind of sticky, it's a nice easy way to handle them. But anyway, no matter how you package these, I believe you're going to be enjoying an energy bar that's just as good tasting, less expensive, and probably better for you. Alright, our dates and cashews here provide just enough sweetness, and I really think you're going to be surprised how chocolatey this is. Which is a good thing, because this really does look like a fudge brownie. Which I guess could be one of the issues with these. Because while it looks like a fudge brownie, of course it's not going to taste like a fudge brownie. But that aside, I think this compares very, very favorably